Oasis International Group Limited, also known as OIG, is a story of fraud of an almost immeasurable degree. A failed businessman, an import from New York, Michael DeCorda, decided to take his talents to Sarasota and started a Forex exchange company where he scammed over 700 people into giving him their life savings. Over $80 million of stolen investments. This is his story. Chapter 1. Michael DeCorda. This is Michael DeCorda, the principal orchestrator of the Ponzi scheme. From January 21st, 1986, DeCorda worked for a host of brokerage firms. These firms provided stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and certain other investment products. His FINRA registration records show he worked for 13 lower-tier brokerage firms from 1986 to 2002. All but one of these firms are currently out of business. At every firm he worked at for less than 1 year, 2008. DeCorda was permanently banned from registering with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and prohibited from soliciting U.S. residents to trade the foreign currency market and from trading foreign currency for U.S. residents in any capacity. In our Florida business record search, the earliest record we found of DeCorda was through the creation of his company International Currency Traders Limited. In the fall of 2009, he registered International Currency Traders Limited as a foreign profit corporation. The address he used was from an address in LaGrangeville, New York. This is a building that rents space to businesses. His next Florida corporation was called Strata Capital, Inc. He incorporated this business in Florida in the winter of 2009. The address listed for this corporation was from his home address in Poughkeepsie, New York, at 5 Pat Drive, Poughkeepsie, New York, zip code 12603. Chapter 2. Attorney Joseph Salvatore Anil II. When Michael DeCorda set up his first company in Florida, the registered agent was Joseph S. Anil II, an attorney from Long Island, New York. We do not know how they met, but from this date, March 21, 2006, we have a record of the two working together in almost every facet of DeCorda's business dealings in Florida. We have multiple previous addresses for Anil in the Long Island area, where he once owned his own law firm in Uniondale before closing it down. Chapter 3. Business and team in place. Sometime during this period, DeCorda moved to the Sarasota, Florida area, along with Anil. During this time period that DeCorda was setting up these companies, he was also setting up his team of friends, acquaintances, and business associates to help him obtain the funds for his budding businesses. Foreign currency investment. From around April 2014 and the following years, Michael DeCorda and his team solicited hundreds of members of the public, which they called pool participants. They convinced these participants to invest money to two separate pools, Oasis Pool 1 and Oasis Pool 2. The sales pitch enticed investors by telling them that they would make a minimum 1% return on their money every month from the company, Commodity Futures Trading Commission Limited, which had never had a losing month. There was also no risk of loss with the Oasis pools. They also convinced investors that their investments were safe and secured by real assets. During this time, the group led by DeCorda took in approximately $80 million from investors who believed they were in no-risk products. DeCorda and team made sure and issued fake account statements to their investors. DeCorda, the man, was known as a person with a big personality. He could draw people in with his personality skills, rich trappings, and spiel about his investing prowess. In his pitches for money, he also stressed that he was all about family and friends. His goal in life was to help his friends and families all get rich. If you were invited into his coveted group of friends and family, you not only felt special, but you were now under the umbrella of DeCorda, who would make you rich. DeCorda was known for his lavish Christmas parties. He invited current and prospective investors. If you were invited to one of his parties in the Sarasota area, you felt like you were one of the special group of those ordained by the man himself. No expense was too much at these parties. The meals were over the top, expensive with free alcohol and live music. An interview with an investor of DeCorta's stated the following to public officials. DeCorta provided an opportunity to put money into an investment that was going to be diverse in many ways, and probably a better return on his money than putting it into a checking account. The investor was also under the impression that the company was not just generating money from trading, but also from real estate investments, silver and gold investments, along with other types of investments. At this time, DeCorta also became a solid member of the community by working out in gyms with clients, attending local events, and playing pickleball. Chapter 4. Investing Prowess. In April of 2015, Anil opened a Forex trading account in the United Kingdom. He opened it in the name of OGFXL, a New Zealand company, owned by OIG, which DeCorta was president, and Anili was the vice president. They put $1,650,000 into this new account. By February of 2017, they closed the account after losing all the money they had added, except for $1,000. In December 2016, Anil opened a Forex trading account at ATC. He opened it in the name of OGFXS, a Belizean company owned by Anili. DeCorta also traded in this account. Between January of 2017 and November the 30th, 2018, the account received deposits of $19,625,000. By November the 29th, 2018, the account had lost approximately $60 million. Chapter 5. Where the rest of the money went. During this time period, instead of returning his investors' money, he started his personal buying binges. He bought numerous properties, including many multi-million-dollar residences. Anil lived in one of the properties. It was located at 4064 Founders Club Drive in Sarasota, Florida, as his residence. It is owned by Relief Defendant 4064 Founders Club Drive, LLC. Defendant Anili was a principal of that entity, and Michael DeCorta was the registered agent. Some of the cars he purchased a Maserati, Range Rovers, country club memberships, many properties in Florida, flights on private jets to Europe and the Cayman Islands. Super mid-sized jets cost up to $6,500 per hour. DeCorta and cohorts then used over $28 million of the remaining $75 million to make Ponzi-like payments to other pool participants to keep the business charade going. Chapter 6. Feds onto them. In September 2018, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission reported concerns about Oasis. They started an investigation, and from what they found, DeCorta's operation was a Ponzi scheme. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission contacted the FBI and IRS in Sarasota to further investigate. The FBI found that the size of this operation was immense, over 700 victims, and up to $80 million in the scheme. They also found that his Forex trading was a complete failure. He had lost millions. This was definitely a Ponzi scheme. The FBI and IRS even sent in an undercover operative who posed as an investor. Video and audio was recorded by the undercover agent. In December 2019, the FBI and IRS had enough evidence to close down the whole operation and make arrests, indictment, and charges. In 2020, Michael DeCorta was indicted on charges of wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering. The indictment detailed how DeCorta and his co-conspirators used deceptive practices to lure investors into the scheme. Regulatory actions. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, filed civil enforcement actions against DeCorta and his entities, seeking disgorgement of ill-gotten gains and civil penalties. Specific allegations by the authorities. Wire and mail fraud. DeCorta and his associates were charged with using wire transfers and mail to carry out their fraudulent activities. Money laundering. The laundering of proceeds from the scheme to conceal the origin and nature of the illicit funds. Deceptive practices. The use of falsified trading records and reports to convince investors of the legitimacy and success of their investments. Chapter 7. Court Assignment of Receiver. July 11, 2019. Receiver assigned Burton Wyand. The court appointed receiver. The receiver agreed to a reduced hourly rate for payment of $360 per hour. He immediately froze all assets of defendants and relief defendants. This list consisted of at least 73 individuals and entities that could have assets or records belonging to the receivership estate. Relief defendants are people named in a civil litigation who are not accused of wrongdoing. He created the website oasisreceivership.com and also started putting together a complete list of victims and got to work piecing together the criminal empire DeCorda and co-conspirators put together. Chapter 8. Main players in case. Defendant DeCorda. Defendant Anili. Defendant Francisco L. Duran also goes by Frank. Defendant Duran is a resident of Florida. Duran handled the day-to-day operations of OIG. Duran also solicited members of the general public to become pool participants in the Oasis pools. Defendant Francisco Duran lived at the property located at 7312 Desert Ridge Glen in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, as his residence. It was owned by an LLC of the same name. Defendant DeCorda was a principal of that entity until the receiver's appointment. The property is approximately 3,889 square feet, including 4 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, and a pool. Desert Ridge appears to have been purchased on November 9, 2017, for approximately $575,000. The receiver is not aware of any mortgage on the property. The tax-assessed value of Desert Ridge is $886,601. Defendant Raymond P. Monty III. Defendant Monty is a resident of Hamlin, Pennsylvania. He was also OIG's executive director of sales. He is responsible for recruiting hundreds of investors into this Ponzi scheme and received transfers totaling approximately $1.7 million from the scheme. Monty has never been registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission in any capacity. Defendant John J. Haas. Haas is a New York resident. During the relevant period, Haas and DeCorda hosted Oasis conference calls in which they solicited U.S. residents to invest in the Oasis pools. Among other things, they told prospective pool participants that the Oasis pools earned 21% in 2018. They could guarantee incoming pool participants a 12% annual return on their investments. Forex trading was almost risk-free, and the only way Forex trading could be a bad investment was if all the banks in the world closed. Chapter 9. Jail Time. In May 2023, Michael DeCorda was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison for his role in the $80 million Ponzi scheme. He was also ordered to pay restitution to the defrauded investors. On September 26, 2019, Joseph Anil II pleaded guilty to the crimes of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and mail fraud, money laundering, and filing a false income tax return, and was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. As part of the sentence, the court also entered a money judgment of $3,283,467, which is proceeds of the fraud. Anil was also ordered to forfeit his interest in multiple pieces of real property, including a luxury residence in Sarasota, high-end vehicles, currency, gold coins, and silver bars, which are traceable to proceeds of the fraud. Chapter 10. Ongoing legal issues and clawbacks. Raymond P. Monty III. The receiver has settled litigation against Monty for $549,410, May 22, 2024. Recovery of false profits from investors. The receiver is working towards clawback litigation against investors who received money in excess of investments from investing with Oasis pools. The receiver declares those monies fruits of the Ponzi scheme and should be returned. Chapter 11. Ongoing obstruction of the receivership. In court documents, the receiver is having issues with a group called Oasis Helpers, website oasisreplevin.net, who state they can help Oasis investors receive their money back from the Ponzi scheme. Burton Wyand, the receiver, advises in court documents that they do not seem to have a legal right to represent victims and are obstructing his work on clawbacks and other enforcement actions he is taking. He also advises the court that the Oasis helpers seem to be involved in recovery fraud. Definition of recovery fraud. Recovery scams are a form of advance fee fraud when you are asked to pay up front for the chance of getting a much bigger sum of money later. Recovery frauds target victims already harmed by other frauds. If you were a victim of this Ponzi scheme, you can check oasisreceivership.com. You check the Receiver Reports section, and the full documentation of this information is on the file receiver's 20th motion for fees. Final thoughts. There are many details we had to leave out of this video. This is a complicated case of many assets, victims, recoveries, etc. From reviewing court documents, we could not find any information on arrest details other than Dacorta and Anil. Anil was sentenced to 10 years and is already home from his prison sentence. Dacorta is serving his 23-year sentence at Coleman Low Federal Correctional Institute in Coleman, Florida, which is 122 miles from Sarasota, Florida. Court documents show that the receiver has received a second interim distribution of $9 million for victims. The receiver mailed checks to claimants with approved claims on April 30th, 2024. The FBI is instituting forfeiture proceedings against vehicles, cash, gold, and silver obtained from Dacorta and his co-conspirators. Why is the government getting these proceeds when this was obviously the fruits of the crime set forth by Dacorta? This was the investors' money Dacorta used. There are asset seizure laws called the Asset Forfeiture Program, which the government is using to take this money right out from under the investors whose money was used by this Ponzi scheme. Joseph Anile was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison on September 26, 2019. Anil had filed a motion for sentence reduction due to his cooperation with the government and other relevant factors, whatever that means. He was released on January 25, 2023. He served under 3 years and 4 months. He has 12 months of home confinement and an additional 2 years of supervised release. Anil was the right-hand man of Dacorta. His culpability in the commission of crimes is almost at par with Dacorta. Also, it does not make any sense why the prosecution would need to broker a deal with Anil for more evidence against Dacorta when they had all of the financial records and statements from victims in order to prosecute him. According to court documents, the court took into consideration Anil's significant health problems. Anil is getting rewarded for not taking care of himself. We cannot find any record of any of the other defendants serving any jail times. We have no further information on Dacorta other than he has never accepted responsibility or shown any remorse in regards to the crimes he committed. If you see something that I missed in this video, or that you know is incorrect, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you are a victim of Dacorta, let me know if you are getting your money back from the money the receiver has recovered.